I started learning more about agorism, just listening to podcasts over the last 6 months or so. And it's definitely a philosophy that I like. I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur, try to create systems, to better myself. But who was it? Was a Rothbard that talked about the role of the entrepreneur, inside a system, one who solves problems, right? If you're creating solutions instead of trying to destroy solutions or destroy problems, right? Or, we always want to be building things instead of tearing them down. And that seems to be the easy path for people to do. I want to destroy the thing instead of let's create something new. Right.
Exactly. And, maybe to help illustrate that idea and that point, I think there's some great examples of agorism in action. So one of the problems of statism that libertarians are ready to identify at a moment's notice is our financial system. And, this, fiat currency and central banking and fractional reserve lending and all of these problems. And so one alternative would be to go to the Federal Reserve building with protest signs and, demand to be seen for your victimhood and talk about how much inflation is hurting your family and make signs that say, return to the gold standard and all of Fed. That. Yeah, end the Fed, exactly. Or you can create Bitcoin that totally renders that whole system obsolete once it becomes adopted, once there's a critical mass of adopters to cryptocurrency. You can see how that's better. Instead of playing the victim and identifying a persecutor and all that, the creators of Bitcoin just went forward and brought about this new technology that has the potential to render that whole system obsolete. Another example that I really like is there's a private police force that operates in downtown Detroit. They're called the Detroit Threat Management Center.
I haven't heard of them.
And they've become more and more well-known in libertarian circles. And so, rather than protest police brutality and talk about the way that policing hurts the poor and causes problems in especially, Black communities there in Detroit, they created their own alternative force to bring the benefits of security without all of the issues of state-based policing. And they've had a very successful time. They've been around for almost 30 years, I think. They have a lot of very happy customers and beneficiaries, and they've never killed someone. They have this incredible track record of maintaining people's personal and property rights in a whole new paradigm. And they did that not by protesting the system we have, but by creating a new alternative. And then a third example that I really like that, you can relate with is, as you mentioned before, we're both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And back in the Great Depression, as the New Deal was ramping up and creating this gigantic welfare state, the church there in Utah created their own welfare system to take care of their people without all of the baggage that comes and the problems that come from the welfare state. And when they introduced that program, one of the things they specifically said, how was it phrased? They said that this program was to fight the evils of the dole. The LDS Church Welfare Program was created specifically to render the state welfare system with all of its problems obsolete, at least for the demographic of people that would participate in it, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that's been one of the most successful systems that I've ever studied. They have videos on it you can watch. Even if you're not a member of the church, I think it's a phenomenal system that they've developed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all voluntary. It's privately funded. It gets people fed. It gets people their bills paid, but with an emphasis on helping them to become productive and creative again. So instead of being, victims that are taken care of by a rescuer, it helps them it challenges them and coaches them to get off their feet and become a creator. And so it inverts the drama triangle.
Nice.
And that's the genius of Agorism right there, is it inverts the drama triangle and fosters esoteric liberty so that we can have exoteric liberty flow out as a result.